Hello everybody and welcome to another introduction video, this time on our game, MadBus. What can you expect to find in the box? Well, first is the rules book. Next are the cards. There are three types of cards. The bus cards, which each have buses on them, the passenger cards with passenger figures on them, and finally the ticket cards. The game is played in three phases, and each phase requires its own setup. So let's go through the phases individually. Phase 1 starts with a dealer. This dealer will deal out cards to all of the individual players as well as themselves. The dealer will go around the players 4 times, each time asking a different question before dealing the card. In the first round, the dealer will give you a card and ask you if you think the gender of the card will be a boy or a girl. This can be seen in the top right corner with the little gender mark. If you get it wrong, you have to take a sip. And if you don't, then you don't have to do anything. Once everybody, including the dealer, has answered the question, you move on to the next round. Now you're in round 2. At this point, you will already have a card, and the dealer will ask you whether the next card you're going to get is higher or lower than the card that you have now. You can see the number on the top left, and then you can decide whether you think the card will be higher or lower. I had a 2, so obviously it's going to be higher. If you have a 10, also pretty easy, it's probably going to be lower. I had an 8, so yeah, it's higher. Again, everybody, including the dealer, will do this step to finish off round 2. Now in round 3, you'll have 2 cards, and you'll have to guess whether the card that you're about to get is in between the 2 numbers that you already have or outside. I have 2 and 8, so it's probably going to be that it's inside, and it is. Again, if you get the question wrong, you have to take a sip. If not, you're completely fine. In the 4th round, the dealer will ask whether you already have the color of the card that you're about to get. I have green and yellow. I'm going to say I do. Damn it. Okay, I don't. So then I would have to take a sip. Again, everybody has to do this final step, and then you're ready for phase 2. Now you have the pyramid set up, and you can start phase 2. You can either start going top to bottom or bottom to top, completely up to you. Wherever you decide to start, it's 1 sip, and when you go down or up the rows, then you keep adding a sip. So the first line would be 1 sip, second line 2 sips, third line 3 sips, and fourth line 4 sips. I'm going to start with the bottom. I flip the first card over. In this case, it's a 2, and since I have a 2 value card, I can place it on top. At this point, I could give out a sip to anybody that I'm playing with. And on top of giving them a sip, I would give them a ticket. Each ticket has a value on it, which will be really important for going on to the 3rd phase of the game. There's a few special cards that can be found within the deck. The first is a nitrate card. This card means that you have to give the person 2 tickets instead of just 1. The second that can be found is the 2 times sips. This means that whatever amount of sips that you gave to somebody, you can then multiply it by 2. Let's say you're about to give somebody 4 sips and you use this card, that would then be 8 sips instead. The last special card is a times 3 sip. What this does is it times the amount of sips that you're about to give out by 3. So if I was about to give 4 sips to somebody, I would instead give them 12, and that could really screw them over. Once everybody has used their cards and given out all their sips and their tickets, we can move on to the 3rd and most exciting phase. The 3rd phase is the bus. But first, we need to decide who actually goes into the bus. You do this by counting the value of the tickets that you've gotten. Whoever has the highest value has to go into the bus. If multiple people have the same value of tickets, they have to take the player card, and the one with the lowest one has to go into the bus. Now the unlucky player that has to go in the bus will go through the same questions as in phase 1. The first one being what the gender of the card is. So I'm going to guess that it's a man. In this case, I'm right, so I can just go on to the next card. But if I was wrong, I'd have to take a sip. So the second card is about whether it's higher or lower, just like in phase 1. I'm going to say that it's lower since it's a 7. It is. If I was to get it wrong, then this time I'd have to take 2 sips instead of 1, and I'd have to start back over in the first card. The third one is whether or not it's in between or outside the first 2 cards. I'm going to say it's inside. It's outside, so I would have to take 3 sips, and I'm going to have to start over in the first card guessing its gender. After rounds and rounds of trying to guess, chugging, drinking, I'm finally at the last one. Now I have to guess whether or not I have the color of the card already. I'm going to say no. Finally, I'm out of the bus, and that is phase 3 done. If, however, I were to get it wrong, I'd have to take 4 sips and start all over at card 1. So that was MadBus, easily the funniest and the fastest way to get drunk at any party. So gather your friends around, get the game, and make your party great again with MadBus.